friends, welcome back to Gracie May's Tarot. So today we're going to be looking at your main character energy. Now I have pre-pulled the cards, but I haven't seen them yet. So what my plan is that once I've done your reading, I'm going to pause the filming and then go and pick a book that I think will best match like your reading that we've done. So you will see like a jump cut, but I'll let you know like when that's gonna be. It'll be at the end of your reading. I'm sure you can figure it out. But anyway, we have 3 groups to choose from today. So for pile 1, we have the White Rabbit. For pile 2, we have Miss Alice here. And then for pile 3, we have good old chess. So take a moment, pause the video if you need to, and meditate on the groups. The timestamps are listed below in the description box, just like always. This reading will post in December, but I'm actually filming it on Thanksgiving Day. And I was just thinking to myself, I should probably just make a little message to you all because we're coming right into the holiday season. Well, I guess it depends on your culture and your country that you're living in, but for a lot of you watching, Thanksgiving, Christmas holidays, New Year's, like all of that's packed into the end of the year and then January. And I know it can be a very lonely time for people. There's a lot of togetherness and family and stuff, but you know, some of us spend the holidays alone as well. And I just wanted to say, like, if that's the case for you, you're not alone in spending the holidays alone. I am spending today alone for like various reasons that I won't get into, but and you know, it happens. Well, I shouldn't say I'm spending it alone. I'm spending it with my cat Gracie, and she is family. But I just wanted to say, you know, like a little bit of solidarity there, you know, because I know it can definitely be tough and kind of an isolating time if you know, live a distance or if you just don't have a support system in your life. So anyway, timestamps are in the description box and let's get into it. Hi pile 1, welcome to your reading. If you chose the White Rabbit, you are in the right place. I will say before we start your reading, if these cards look a little busted, like you can see like there's a white line on the side, I didn't mean to order this deck. I ordered it by accident off of AliExpress. Their website's confusing and I had never ordered from them before, and I accidentally ordered this deck and I actually connected to it though. I'm like, the quality's not like super great. Like you can see here too, like where it's been cut and they're like super thin. But I don't know, there's something about the imagery that I do like, and it's an easy deck to shuffle, and I've never used it before in a reading at least for my channel. So anyway, if the deck looks a little busted, I'm aware of it, but the cards do have a good energy. Okay, so we have the Knight of Wands, we have the Emperor, we have the 5 of Pentacles, the 9 of Cups, the 6 of Wands, and the King of Swords. Okay, right off the bat, especially given that you chose the White Rabbit, I mean, he spends most of the story running around, right? Like he's being chased by Alice, he's going from place to place, he's late, you know, he's got to go. And I feel like there's something to your energy about that. You know, like you see the frog pulling Alice away here, you see the Knight of Wands, like this is the, you know, one of the fastest knights, right? Like rushing in, the lion, like bravely just going into something. Like you just seem very busy. Like even the King of Swords, like yes, he's sitting, but he looks like he doesn't want to be bothered. And so I feel like in terms of your main character energy, you are very much like the protagonist of the story who looks like they have it all together, and yet no one quite knows exactly what you're up to. So I feel like you are hard at work on a lot of things, like you have your hands in a lot of different projects, goals, things that you're working on, but you're not the type of person to broadcast what you're doing. You let everyone know that you're busy. Everyone knows that you're busy, that you got a lot of stuff going on, but no one quite knows what it is specifically that you're working on. Like Alice is so curious, like what is the White Rabbit late to? Where is he rushing off to? But he never stops to tell her. And so she's just left chasing him throughout the story. And so that's kind of the vibe here, is that, you know, people look at you and they're like, they seem like they have it all together. They seem really successful, or you seem like you're hustling towards that, but you're very private. And so people can only get but so close to you. And so that's why I think sometimes people who don't know you that well will look at you and just think that you're lucky, that everything just fell into place for you, because they don't see that hard work, that effort that you're putting into stuff, because you don't broadcast it. You don't broadcast your dreams and your goals. And I think for a lot of you, maybe you are into manifesting and the law of attraction, and you're kind of worried that people will project their insecurities and their limiting beliefs onto your goals and dreams and ambitions, and they'll like disrupt your flow of manifestation. For others of you, you're just mindful that people can, not necessarily like intentionally, but people can kind of put down your dreams before you even get started on them, just with saying, but what if it doesn't work out? Or are you sure you can do that? You know, people can, you know, kind of like mess with your self-esteem a little bit. And so I feel like to get to where you want to be, the Six of Wands talks about victory and success. The Emperor, this is a leader. This is someone who owns their own business, someone who answers to no one, someone who's at the top of their game. To get to where you want to be. And with the Knight of Wands, it could very well be something creative that you're working on as well. And Nine of Cups talks about wish fulfillment. So you have big goals, big dreams, big ambitions. And with the Five of Pentacles, it's like you don't want to be anywhere near this like lack mentality. And maybe you have struggled a lot in your past, and that's what people don't see. People don't see where you've come from. People don't see the struggle. People don't see the journey, because you don't advertise it. You know, you're like nose to the grindstone, working hard, staying quiet, and then you don't share with people until you have results. And so that's why people don't see the process there. And I also feel like there is an aspect to you as well where you do want to see other people succeed. And so like you do try to encourage people to stand on their own, and you try to encourage people, you know, how to get to a place of like wish fulfillment and victory and success that will resonate for them. You know, you don't tell people what to do or like who they should be, but you do try to encourage people towards their dreams. You know, I think with just like positive affirmations and being supportive, or even serving as an inspiration or an example to others and sharing your story once you get to where you want to go. And for some of you, like you're not fully there yet, and for others of you, you're like, yeah, I have made it. I have made myself a success. But yeah, like there's just this air of determination. But I do feel like people can misinterpret it sometimes as well, and they can see you as maybe snooty, a bit arrogant, you know, a bit standoffish, but you're just busy. You know, like you're just busy. And it's not because you have something to prove to other people, but it's all about doing this for yourself. Doing it for yourself. And I feel like also with this King of Swords here, like you're quite smart, and you do have this energy of like someone who's just a little bit good at everything, you know, kind of like a jack of all trades kind of energy. You just seem like you have a lot of strengths. And the thing is that we all have a lot of positive qualities, but I feel like you're better than most people at recognizing that, and you play to your strengths. You know, some people really fixate on their limitations, and there is a saying that if you argue for your limitations, they are yours. You know, so like if you walk around saying, oh, I'm just not that smart, I'm not that creative, you know, I'm not someone who is that hardworking, like I really struggle with self-discipline. If you keep saying that and arguing for that, and someone says, no, like you worked really hard on this project, and then you say, yeah, but it took me 3 weeks to complete it. Like, if you keep arguing for your limitations, they will be your limitations. And so I feel like you avoid that trap. You argue for your strengths, and it's not that you're arrogant and then that you're not aware that you have areas for growth, but that's the difference. You see it as an area of growth, not a limitation. And so playing to your strengths and like really focusing on like what you're good at and how can I build upon that is part of what has made you successful or will make you successful. Because you just seem like a winner. You just seem like a winner. And you also seem, again, just very busy and very elusive, and people can't quite pin you down either. And I think it's because, again, like, you're a multitasker, you have your hands in a lot of different projects, a lot of different things that you're working on. You're not, for most of you, like, you don't just have one goal, you have multiple dreams that you're working on here. You have multiple goals. And so I feel like it's kind of hard for people to stereotype you as well. You know, like, when they think that they have you figured out, there's another aspect to you that is revealed. And I say that because we have this major arcana card here, the Emperor, but then we also have 2 court cards. And I feel like there are some goals that you're closer to reaching than others. Like with this King of Swords here, you could maybe have graduated from school, for example. This is just an example. So maybe you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or some kind of certification, some sort of formal training, but there's a creative project that you're working on the side where you're just at the knight level. You're not at the king level yet. You've just started it. And then with the Emperor here, you know, maybe you have a management position at your job. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's different levels, I think, also because you do have more than one thing you're working towards. And it doesn't just have to be career. You know, it could definitely be like self-development goals. Like, for example, like if you wanted to make a lifestyle change and you were like, I really want to be vegan, I don't feel like you would advertise that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like you would make a big announcement, hey, everybody, I'm going vegan. You know, if someone asked you directly, hey, like, I've noticed you haven't been eating meat. Like, what's up with that? You would probably tell them, but I don't feel like you're the type of person to go make a big announcement on social media or, you know, tell everyone at work, hey, guys, I'm doing this thing. Or, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and you're also the kind of person I feel like who has, like, surprising like talents or skills that people don't know about. So like you may speak another language and people just don't know. You know, like you just don't share a lot. I feel like you tend to be pretty private about things. And it's funny because it's like you're so private and you're just working hard, you know, like trying to do your best. And then some people are still so triggered by that. You know, some people, I think that may be why you're a little bit quieter about things, because maybe in the past you've shared like, hey, I'm starting this thing. Like, for example, like maybe you shared in the past with a friend, I'm going to write a novel, I'm going to start writing a book. And you expected that person to be really excited for you. Like, oh man, I'm so happy you're doing that. You know, let me know if you need me to read over anything, or, you know, just being supportive, just hyping you up. And I think because you tend to hype other people up, you're a very positive, optimistic person, you just expect that same energy back. And I feel like in the past, maybe you've been disappointed by that, or maybe people have made like snide remarks or just seemed really disinterested, or even maybe actively tried to discourage you. And so you were like, okay, I see the score. I see what it is. All right, you know, I see you now. Like, I'm just gonna, you know, stay quiet about this. I'm not gonna update you on what I've got going on. You know, I've definitely, like, I've experienced that myself before where, you know, like I've shared something and I thought someone was going to be super happy for me, and then it just wasn't that, you know, and you kind of just have to meet people where they're at. You're like, oh, okay, you know, and sometimes people are just in a place in their life where they're struggling so much that they just don't, not to make an excuse for them, but they just don't have that capacity to be happy for somebody else. You see that a lot, I think, romantically. Like, I've noticed that before. Like, if you're happy in a relationship, sometimes maybe your single friends who have had a lot of bad experiences with dating may project their past experiences onto you and your new connection, or, you know, they'll act like they're happy for you, but they're really not, you know, that kind of thing. Aw, the stray cat is going to find the food I put out. I put out a bunch of extra special treats because it's Thanksgiving Day. And so, like, there's like 3 food bowls out there with like different treats and stuff. Aw. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I do feel like maybe it's because of your past experiences sharing, you know, what your plans are, and people not really, you know, reciprocating the energy back to you and not being positive has caused you to be more private. You know, there could be a reason for this. But I feel like people are still like, you know, people in a lower vibrational energy who can't be happy for other people are still a little bit triggered by it, because I just feel like you're kind of like this bright light, you know, and when you're a confident person and you're being authentically yourself, even that alone can be triggering to other people who just haven't reached that level of self-development. So you may notice that you just provoke certain reactions in people, and you're like, you know, I'm just minding my own business over here, working hard. I don't know why they have a problem with me, but they do. You may notice that, I think, more in like workplace environments. I'm picking that up kind of strongly, actually. Okay, so let's get into the rest of your cards here. So we have Leo here. I'm going to go ahead and get the archetype cards as well. So we have Leo, we have hero, heroine. How perfect is this card for this reading? Passion for a journey of personal empowerment. And then we also have healer, passion to serve others by repairing the body, mind, and spirit, ability to transform pain into healing. I definitely feel like your whole reading has Leo energy. This doesn't have to be your sun sign at all. Although if you have Leo placements in your birth chart, or you have a lot of placements in the 5th house, you can take this as a confirmation that you selected the right group. But I say that I pick up a lot of Leo energy from your reading overall because that bright light kind of energy we were picking up, you know, as an introverted Leo myself, it's kind of frustrating sometimes. Like, I don't particularly want to be the center of attention, and when you're a Leo, you can kind of feel like all eyes are sometimes on you when you have no desire for that to be the case, and you kind of feel like, man, I can't get away with anything. Like, I can't have any type of peace. I'll give you an example. When I was going to get my certification, I had to go multiple times because I had to keep, you know, you have to update it every so couple years when you get CPR certified by the American Red Cross. And so for the job that I was doing and the school program I was doing, I had to keep up this certification. And every single time I kept getting called out by the instructor to, you know how they say, like, okay, I'm gonna need a volunteer, and, you know, we're gonna do a demonstration in front of the class kind of thing. No one would volunteer, and every single time I would get chosen. And I even kept changing my location because I thought maybe this instructor just likes to pick on me. So when I would go, even though I had to drive a little bit further, I would just pick a different location, so maybe I would get a different instructor. And it just kept happening, and I'm like, oh, like, why? Like, I just knew it in my head. I'm like, they're gonna pick me. I just know it. They're gonna pick me. And every single time, and I just like, like, I don't want to be the one who has to go up there and demonstrate something in front of the whole class. Like, that's just not my jam, not my vibe, especially not CPR. And so, yes, I just knew it though. And it just happens, like, with Leo energy. Like, you just get this unwanted attention sometimes. And so I feel like it's like that with you. Like, I feel like you just, you know, try to stay busy, mind your own business, and somehow you just get pulled into things. You know, you get pulled into the plot. You get pulled into, you know, drama that you don't want to be a part of sometimes. people say, did you hear what so-and-so said about you? And you're like, I don't care. You know, like I thank you for telling me, I guess, but in the future, I don't really care what they've said about me. Like, I feel like you're a topic of discussion even when you're not doing much. Like, it just, I don't know, like, people have their eyes on you, and I feel like you're not doing very much to provoke that, and yet it just keeps happening to you. So yeah, I feel like you're like a reluctant you're like a reluctant hero here. You know, maybe you're a little bit of a anti-hero. Like, you're like, you know, I'm not trying to be in the spotlight, and yet you keep finding yourself in the spotlight quite a bit. But I think it's because Spirit has kind of set up this dynamic where they want you to be sort of this healing force, this light in this world, because they want other people to see your journey and look at that and say, if they can do it, I can do it, you know, and apply it to their own life and circumstances, you know, because there is this energy of like started from the bottom and now we're here, you know, like I don't think that you come from a privileged background, or if there are some elements of privilege in your background, there was something internally that you had to overcome. Because it definitely feels like a journey. You know, I don't feel like you were necessarily born into this idea of like, okay, I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to be super confident and I have all these creative abilities. Like, I don't feel like you were in that energy at a young age. I feel like you grew into it, you know, kind of like a house cat to a lion, you know, like you had to grow into this energy. And you may not really see yourself as this healer, you know, and I think it's because sometimes when we go through a healing process, it's uncomfortable and it doesn't really feel too good. You know, I feel like that's why people have such an aversion to like therapy, right? Like there was a long time, there was a stigma around getting treatment for mental health. Like it wasn't something you were supposed to talk about. Or like going to a therapist for a long time, at least in American culture, it was seen as something negative, right? Or something to be embarrassed about. And now people are a lot more open to it, for sure. But it's still an uncomfortable process. And even when you're seeing a therapist, there will be times when you might not like your therapist too much because they'll challenge you to grow in certain ways and to address things that you have repressed, and you know, you're going to be talking about things that are uncomfortable. And so I feel like sometimes you spark that energy in other people because you're meant to help them grow, and growth and change can be uncomfortable. And that's why subconsciously, unconsciously, you are provoking this reaction in people, but it's not intentional. But it's just sort of the dynamic that Spirit has set up here for you. And yeah, and I feel like, you know, in terms of like pride and seeming stuck up and things, I feel like that's also that Leo energy coming through. And people seeing you as arrogant when you're not. You're just about your business. You're just about your goals, you know, like you're just doing you and focusing on you. And that's very much Leo energy too. Like you're just very focused on yourself and how can you make yourself better. And you're really only in competition with yourself. But certain people, not everyone in your life, but certain people may look at that and may be a little bit triggered by that. And again, want to see it through this negative lens when really you're just on a path to self-development and trying to be the best version of yourself that you can be. Yeah. Also with the sun, like you can't get so close to the sun, right? Like I feel like, again, there's this distance between you and other people. Like everyone feels the sun's warmth, right? Like you just radiate that good energy, but you can't directly look at the sun, right? Like that's not a smart idea. And so I feel like there's just, it's like everyone's noticing you and yet you're a little bit separated from other people, you know, like center of attention, and yet there's a distance, which is interesting. And I feel like sometimes you don't quite understand it yourself, But it's again, and then people may take that the wrong way too, like with you being so busy, people may interpret it as like, oh, they think they're too good to hang out with us. But it's not. It's just, you know, you understand there's only so many hours in a day and you want to get certain stuff done. And also with Leo, I feel like Leos really understand the importance of self-care, and like we can't give to other people until we've given to ourselves, and that's not selfish. And I feel like other people who are more in a people-pleasing mode, or people who tend to be takers rather than givers, sometimes may be bothered by that as well. You know, they may not understand why you're setting these boundaries and saying, you know, I can't go out tonight because I need this time alone to do X, Y, and Z. People may be bothered by that, when really, you know, you're just taking care of yourself, as you should. I'm trying to think if there's any other any other messages here. I feel like at the end of the day, you're someone who wants to be good with you first and foremost. Like, that's your main priority. Like, you're not really seeking to impress other people or seeking to fulfill some kind of role that other people expect you to do. Like, at the end of the day, you just want to look in the mirror and be good with you. Like, that's your main goal. That's all that you really have time for. And again, other people who are not fully in their power may be a bit bothered by that. Let's say that. Okay. But yeah, it's definitely been a journey for you. And if you're not proud of yourself, take a moment and pause this video and be very proud of yourself, because even if you're not quite where you want to be yet, you are very much headed to that level of success, or that, you know, whatever goals you're trying to achieve, you are well on your way to doing that. And you do have an important purpose in this lifetime, absolutely. Okay, so this is going to be your final card, and then I'm going to pause the reading and then go find a book that I think will best match your main character energy. Okay, so we have Be Brave and True, Spirit Warrior. How perfect is this with Leo energy? Because this is Braveheart energy, right? Leos are meant to be courageous. Also, I don't feel like I mentioned it, but the creativity of Leo in the 5th house, and the fact that you got Knight of Wands, if you doubt your ability to be successful in a creative field, don't doubt that. Don't let your inner fear hold you back, because you absolutely can be successful in a creative field. Okay. Sorry, guys. Be Brave and True, Spirit Warrior. I feel like that's really what it is that so many people are afraid to be bold and take a risk and put themselves out there and to make a fool of themselves and fail, and you're just going for it. Like, in so many areas of your life, you just go for it, and you don't. You know, that's why I say, like, you're not really an arrogant person, because someone who was super prideful wouldn't put themselves out there in the way that you do. And so it kind of feels like, you know, yeah, you're working quietly on your goals, but when it's time to reveal that final product or show, you know, what you've been working on, you do it. So this would be the energy of someone who has been writing a novel, no one knows about it, and then they go and tell everyone, hey, my novel is going to be published, it's going to be released on this date, and everyone's like, I didn't even know that you wrote a book. You know what I mean? So when it comes time to put that final product out there, you do it, and you understand that the chips will fall where they may. You know, some people may love to read your book, other people will trash it before they've even read it, and you just make your peace with that, you know, because I really feel like there's an energy too where you're proud of yourself for the process. You're proud of yourself for meeting the goal. You're proud of yourself for being brave enough to even try. And you're not one of those people who, like, for example, going back to the publishing a book thing, some people may publish a book and they won't be happy until they read the reviews on Goodreads and see that everyone rates it 5 stars. And they may feel terrible about themselves because they get 3 1-star reviews, even though they have maybe 1,000 5-star reviews. You're not that person. You are like, I'm a success because I set out to do this thing and I did it. And I did it on my own. And I was brave enough to just start it and complete it. So it's enjoying the process and doing things from your heart because it's your dream and it makes you feel good and it makes you feel inspired. And because you're doing it for the right reasons, that's why Spirit is working with you and betting on you and working in your favor and supporting you in your dreams. And you're going to get that wish fulfillment with the 9 of Cups if you haven't already, because you're brave enough to try and because you're doing it with the right intentions and the right mindset. You know, you're doing it for the fun of it, for that creative fulfillment too. Okay, so I'm going to pause the reading and then let's go and get your book. All right, pile 1. This was a little bit of a struggle because most of my books are murder mysteries or thrillers, but what I ended up selecting for you all was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book is pretty popular, so you may have heard of it or read it yourself already. I won't spoil it in case you're interested in reading it and you haven't yet. But the reason why I selected this book for you all is because this idea of celebrity. Okay, so Evelyn Hugo herself, everyone knows her and everyone has these preconceived notions about her. And fame is kind of just a byproduct of what she was wanting to achieve, right? She was wanting to have enough money to grant her freedom. And a lot of that had to do with her rough upbringing and her understanding of this is how you get success in this world, and this is how you get stability, and this is how you get your freedom. And so she did what was necessary to achieve the lifestyle that she wanted. And she didn't tell anyone what she was up to, she just went for it. And so that's kind of reminding me of you, and also this idea of the nature of celebrity itself, in the sense of like, everyone knows her and yet they don't. And I feel like you have that energy of people think that they know you and they think they know what you're up to, and then you consistently surprise people, and there is a little bit of a distance in this idea that you're not super easily accessible to everyone, and you're quite protective of your energy, and you're very careful, I think, also about who you share your plans and your goals and your dreams and your aspirations with. But again, once you reach that certain level of success or you reach that goal, you do share, you know, that final product. But when you're in that process, you're very quiet about it, you know. You let your accomplishments speak more than the planning process, for sure. So this was your reading. I hope it resonated. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Hit the notification bell so you always know when I upload. The easiest way to support the channel is to watch the ads. You can also tip now with SuperThanks. It's kind of like a virtual tip jar. That's also an option. I would like to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel. I was reading through the comments this morning on my most recent video. It was like flirting with your future spouse, and everyone was so nice, like just so nice in the comments. It really made my morning, so I really do read your comments. So thank you so much to everyone who's been supporting the channel. And yeah, I hope you all have a great December, a great end of the year, and I will see you all in my next one. Hi Pile 2, if you chose Alice, welcome to your reading. So we have the 6 of Pentacles, we have the 2 of Pentacles, we have the 4 of Pentacles, we have the 7 of Pentacles, we have the 9 of Wands, and the 6 of Cups. It's always wild to me when I do a reading and I get so many cards within the same within the same suit. That's always very wild because I played around a lot with this deck. I was surprised at how well I connected to it because I did order it by accident. And so when I got it, like I didn't use it for the longest time. And then finally, maybe like a week ago, I started playing around with it. And so I've used this for myself for like daily card pulls because I like to, you know, connect with the deck before I actually use it in a reading. And so, well, a reading for the channel. And so, yeah, I think it's quite significant here that we have so many Pentacles cards. In terms of your main character energy, I really feel like people underestimate you. Like, I feel like you have this underdog kind of energy to you. And it's kind of balanced between people who underestimate you and try to keep you in that energy. And there's another side where people really support you and want to help you. And so I feel like you may have that kind of theme in your life where people either really love you or people really hate on you. And you just seem to have a split there where you have people who really try to build you up, and then you have other people who try to tear you down or convince you that you're just not good enough to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. I feel like some people kind of try to convince you that with this Two of Pentacles, you're gonna drop the ball. You know, like you're just not, with the Four of Pentacles, they may have you convinced that like that's the best that you can do. And, you know, they may always try to remind you of your failures and that kind of thing. Or they may say, you know, anytime you do get success, they may try to minimize it and say, well, you're just lucky. Or, well, of course you were able to do that because you had help and you have, you know, maybe certain privileges or something like that. And so I feel like, you know, with the Nine of Wands, you may feel like sometimes like people just come at you and you just don't know why, and you're feeling like you have to defend yourself, and you may have taken on sort of this narrative too that if you don't work twice as hard, or if you don't put in a certain amount of effort, you just won't get to that same level of success that other people enjoy. You know, you feel like nothing is ever handed to you. And it may be quite frustrating then to get told by other people when you do find success, well, that was just handed to you. You know, that's very frustrating. And so, yeah, I feel like certain people just kind of come at you. And then again, it's very balanced though. On the other side of it, there are people who are quite supportive of you. And I feel like if you're at a place in your life where you're like, Bethany, I don't really have any supportive people around me, I feel like that will be coming in the future, and it may actually come when you open yourself up a little bit more in the sense of like advocating for yourself, and you start to kind of make those hard decisions, you know, because for some of you, it's that you're just in the wrong social circle, or you're just confiding in the wrong people, and there will be a point in your life with the Six of Cups that you meet your soul family and the entire narrative changes, and all of a sudden you have people who are wanting to help you and wanting to assist you. And some of you may have a bad relationship with the idea of someone helping you out. You know, you may be very like fiercely independent with that Nine of Wands because you have just been around negative people, or people who do things for you and then hold it over your head kind of energy. And so it may come at a time when you're finally okay with receiving, that's when Spirit aligns you with your soul family. So it's definitely gonna, you know, resonate differently for different people here. But with the Six of Pentacles and the Six of Cups, there's something there about your success coming from collaboration with others, and your success coming from having help from other people. I mean, if you look at it here, Alice spends a good part of the story trying to, you know, get a hold of the white rabbit. And so she falls down the rabbit hole, you know, she goes through this entire journey to find the white rabbit, you know, because she's just so curious as to like where he's going and what he's doing. And so there may be some sort of thing that is driving a lot of your actions, and it's kind of like a weird dynamic. When you stop chasing it is when it comes to you. When you stop chasing the white rabbit is when the white rabbit stops and offers you a cup. And so it's going to vary. You know, for some of you, this is really about career or finances. With so many Pentacles cards, there's something that you're chasing and you're chasing and you're chasing, and Spirit kind of wants you to just stop. You know, stop working yourself to the point of burnout, and then let Spirit bring success to you. Because for a lot of you, you've already done the hard work. Like, you've already done enough. Or some of you haven't quite found your path yet, and you're putting so much work into something that your heart really isn't in. And when you stop doing that and you follow what your heart and your soul is wanting you to do, that's when success will just come to you so easily. It's going to vary. And others of you, I could see this being about love too, about like wanting a partner that you can build a future with, like home and family and that kind of thing. And when you stop seeking that so hard, you know, that desperation of like running after the white rabbit, and you just stop, that's when it will come to you. I saw this like wild, it just showed up on, you know, when you like scroll through Instagram reels, there was this rotating, it was moving and spinning and shifting, kind of like this square platform, and there were two sort of dancers on it. If you've seen this reel, let me know in the comments. If I can track it down, I'll put it in the description box, but I'll probably never find it. But they were kind of trying to move towards one another, and the more they were looking, the further they were getting apart, and so they just kept missing each other. And when they stopped and just let the platform guide them, that's when they ended up together and they were dancing together. And so it was titled like The Journey of Soulmates or something like that. Like the moment you stop chasing and let just the platform, fate, destiny guide you, your intuition, whatever, that's when they would come together. So yeah, there may be something there also if you're seeking soul family with the Six of Cups, whether that's your romantic soulmate, soulmate connections in business, or soulmate connections in friendship, found family, that kind of energy. The moment you stop seeking for it so desperately is the moment it will find you. And it's so hard to let go, right? It's so hard to let go. Okay. Yeah, I do feel like you provoke definitely a strong reaction in people, though. Like people, you know, hate you or love you kind of energy, which isn't bad. I mean, you're just authentically yourself, you know, and people can take that or leave that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. Your reading's a little bit more straightforward than pile one. Yeah. I definitely feel like, you know, with Alice, I mean, you're probably a very curious person, and you probably have like tried and failed and succeeded at several different things as well. With the Seven of Pentacles, like that's definitely someone who's not afraid to be patient and to keep trying at something. But there's definitely a message here about make sure that you are being patient for the right thing. You are trying for the right thing. You know, whether that's in love or business or work, school, make sure you're trying for the right thing. People may also look at you in this way where they think you're a little bit, like people may think that you're a little bit lost, or maybe a little bit too much of a dreamer, you know, like people may think that you're not that serious, and they kind of don't see. This kind of has the energy to me of, and this is just an example, but you know how some people when they're in college, maybe they change their major like 3 or 4 times, and so, you know, maybe the first time they change their major, people are supportive, but maybe the 3rd or 4th time, people start to not take them seriously, and they're like, you know, you can't stick to anything, you have commitment issues, and, you know, like you're never going to graduate and that kind of thing. And, you know, speaking from someone who went into college with a major and never changed it until they graduated. I wish I had explored a little bit more. Not that I regret my degree in psychology, but I definitely think that I would have benefited from just seeing what other options were out there, and I would have been further along in my career journey had I done that. And so I feel like people see that as you wasting time, but I think in the long run, because you take that time to explore your options, that's not actually indecisiveness. That's actually saving you time in the long run, because you're not committing to something and then dropping it later on because you realize it's not actually for you. So you take that time to make that decision. You sit with it a bit. Yeah, I feel like people misunderstand that. People see you as like flaky, but it's not. You're just exploring your options in a way that you should. Okay. And that could definitely be like a romantic thing too. Like people are like, why aren't you married? Why aren't you settling down? Like you should, people telling you that you're dating around too much or something like that. Okay, we have Capricorn here. And then we also have Gemini. Yeah, okay. With Gemini energy, people don't really take it very seriously. Like people see Gemini as very changeable, not stable energy, like Geminis kind of have this bad rep of not being dependable, of not being reliable, of like being flip-floppers or wishy-washy or flaky. And I feel like people see you in that way. People may also not see how dedicated you can be to something. Like people may try to put you down or say like, I don't know, like there's this energy of people viewing you as being childish in some ways. Like I feel like, and it may be because of your appearance, like maybe you just look younger than you are, but there's this dynamic where I feel like people don't take you seriously. And so you repeatedly feel like you have to prove yourself over and over again. And there's an energy of being tired of that, of being tired of people not seeing your potential and of people counting you out, or people just looking at you and thinking that you've had everything handed to you and you've never been through hardship, or you've never had your struggles. Yeah, because there's an energy here of people just not seeing everything that you've been through, and of people misjudging you for it. Because these are very opposing energies. Like Gemini's very fun and like lighthearted, the intellectual air sign energy, and then Capricorn's very grounded and hardworking and seems very serious and very reserved. And so these are like very opposing energies. And so I feel like people maybe label you in one way, but they don't see the full picture of who you are. And so you may find that people have first impressions of you that are very wrong, or that only capture a small aspect of your personality, and people stick to that, and it becomes hard for you to grow or show your authentic self within this narrow perception they have of you. Like people label you a lot, or again, people just see one aspect of your life and think that that's all there is to you. So for example, like, let's say you do come from a wealthier background, people may label you as like, oh, that's just a spoiled rich kid, or for example, like maybe you are quieter when people first meet you, and so people label you as stuck up or shy, or they're quiet, and then they put you in this kind of like doormat kind of energy, and that's not who you are. Or people see you on social media having a good time, and so they think that that's all you do is party, but you're actually like a hard worker. You see what I mean? It can be so many different things, but people see like one aspect of you, and that's all that they see. And with this elephant flying here too, like again, people just don't see how much you can accomplish. For whatever reason, people, again, just chronically underestimate you. And you get tired, you get tired of proving yourself over and over and over again. We have victim here, prevents you from letting yourself be victimized or victimizing others. And then we have storyteller, ability to experience and express life through stories and symbols. I definitely feel like people have this narrative of you in this like victim mode, you know, of someone who gives up easily, or someone who quits things, someone who doesn't stick to things, someone who needs someone to come in and save them. And that could not be further from the truth. I feel like you are someone who, you would be a very misunderstood main character. Like you would be a protagonist that I think, here's the deal, like you would be a protagonist that a lot of readers would relate to. Like if someone was reading the story, they would relate so much to your character, but it's like every other character in the story doesn't get you and is quite oppressive towards you. So I feel like a lot of readers would identify with your story, but it's like the people around you are just awful to you. And that's why I feel like there's going to be a time in your life where when you finally connect with your soul family and like positive connections, it's going to change the entire script for you. And I feel like your power as a protagonist, as a main character, is that you don't fall into the trap of what people are saying or thinking about you. You may have a parent that like really puts you down, or someone close to you who really just always thinks the worst of you. And that's hard. Like I've been there myself personally, and it is so hard, you know, to constantly try to take the higher road with that individual because you have to see them and not fall into believing the story that they're trying to tell you that you should buy into. Because you're not a victim. Like you are absolutely the hero of the story. You're the main character. But I think people would be happier, some people would be happier to see you in this role. And it could be as well, I've noticed this myself, that when you aim high and you have big goals and big dreams, other people who take a more grounded approach and have, you know, just a smaller perspective about what is actually achievable in this lifetime may try to discourage you from that. So, for example, I am the first person in my family to go to college, and I have a mom and a stepfather who were quite unsupportive about education in general. And so I didn't have a lot of support when I made the decision to go to a 4-year college, and I didn't have a lot of support at all when I decided to go to graduate school. And so for most people, like that wouldn't seem like, or at least I think for most families, they would be proud, you know, if their child really wanted to go and get their education. But in my family, it wasn't viewed in that manner. And so I was told, like, you know, are you sure you can do that? And there was nothing, you know, in my educational academic history that would like support me not going to college. Like I had consistently taken the harder classes. I had consistently gotten good grades. Like there was nothing that should have prevented me from going to school. You know, I got accepted where I wanted to go, you know, it was all good. But if I had listened to what they were telling me, I wouldn't be sitting here this month, like graduating with my master's. And so I don't feel like it has anything to do necessarily with like your intellect or your capabilities, but more so that the people around you just may have a more limited perspective about what you can actually achieve. And it has a lot to do with their own projections, you know, because they've never done it and they've never tried it. They're going to tell you that you can't do it. And it couldn't be further from the case. And you see how her arms are here, right? Like there's an energy of you like consistently having to protect yourself from these outside energies, again, trying to tell you that you're not good enough. But if we were writing your story, every reader would be cheering you on and like wanting to see you succeed. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Okay, so we have White Sage here as your final card, and I'm gonna pause the reading and then go find a book that I feel like will best represent your main character energy, but this is gonna be your final oracle card here. So with the Sage card, I feel like this is picking up on what I was just talking about, of this need to protect yourself from these outside energies. And there's just this, you're very pure of heart. You're very pure of heart. And I think you're quite connected to your inner child and those dreams that you've had ever since you were a kid. And that is what I think causes this tension between you and other people who are more in a lack mentality, or people who aren't connected to their inner child and aren't, you know, like idealists. You know, I feel like you're a dreamer. And I feel like certain people in your life, or maybe just society at large, keeps trying to suppress that in you and tell you that it's wrong to have these dreams, but I feel like you just consistently hold on to them. You're like, no, like I'm gonna hold on to this dream. There's a reason why I have this dream. There's a reason why I feel called to do certain things in my life, and I'm not gonna give up. Yeah, your words may hurt me, but I'm not gonna give up. Which I think is quite beautiful and quite strong and quite resilient. And I feel like you have this softness to you and this, again, like this beautiful childlike quality of, like, you know, that dreamer aspect in you that people see as a weakness or a character flaw, when really it's your greatest strength. Is that capacity to dream and to dream big is quite brave. And I feel like there's a resiliency to you, in the sense of like you're holding on to that dream and you're not giving up. And you don't have a fear about trying different things and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. And I feel like that's part of it too, is that you're not afraid to fail and to try again. You know, just because you tried a certain method and it didn't work out doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the dream. There's just something wrong with your method. And I feel like you get that, but other people are trying to convince you that because the method was wrong, that means the dream was wrong. And I feel like your greatest strength is that you don't fall into that negativity. Okay, I'm going to pause the reading and I'll find your book. All right, pile 2. Your book wasn't hard to find. Pile 1, I struggled a bit. For you all, I knew immediately. When I laid down this card, it came to me and I was like, oh, okay, I got it. So this was actually one of my favorite books of this year, Alice Feeney's Daisy Darker. I chose this for you. I won't give away too much in case you want to read the book, but the protagonist in this story, she's kind of kept... She's never really allowed to grow up. Because she has this health condition, her family is very overprotective of her, and she's just not allowed to do a lot of the things that her siblings are allowed to do. And so her life feels very small. And she ends up having an opportunity to do something really great that she's always wanted to do. But the way that it comes about is quite sad, and it is definitely a story of someone never really losing their goodness, no matter how cruel other people were to them, and never giving up on a certain dream that they had. And the power of that, the power of, you know, holding on to a dream. And I want to explain exactly what I mean by this so bad, but if I say too much, I'm going to give away the entire plot of the book. And I don't want to do that in case someone actually does want to read this. But yes, in the end, no, I won't say anymore, but this book, Daisy Darker. Okay, so pile 2. This was your reading. I hope it resonated. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Hit the notification bell if you haven't already, and you will always know when I upload. And the easiest way to support the channel is to watch the ads. You can also tip now with the SuperThanks, which is like a virtual tip jar. I was really excited when that became available, because that was like, you know, another little milestone we reached as a channel. So that was exciting. A huge thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel thus far. I was reading your comments this morning on my flirting with your future spouse video because that just uploaded yesterday. And yeah, it just means the world to me. It really does. Like, you guys are so encouraging and supportive and kind, and I really do appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next one. I hope you all have the best December and a happy new year and all that good stuff. All right, take care, pal, too. Hey, pile 3, if you chose good old chess, you are in the right place. So we have the 4 of Cups, we have the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Wands, we have the 4 of Swords, we have the Hermit card, as well as the Wheel of Fortune. For those of you who are new to tarot or you just don't care about astrology, the Queen of Swords represents air sign energy, so this is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. The Wands, Queen of Wands, represents Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. That's fire sign energy, and these are both divine feminines. Virgo represents the Hermit card here. I will say as well, don't get too caught up on zodiac signs because there's a lot of you watching, but in case you care, there it is. With the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands here, I definitely feel like you all have had a point in your life where you had this glow up. I feel like you've had a lot of sudden endings and changes and circumstances in your life with this Wheel of Fortune that push you towards this growth. Like, you really, I feel like you're the kind of person where if we were talking about your energy 5 years ago, 3 years ago, we would be talking about a completely different person. I feel like you have grown so much that people from your past wouldn't even recognize who you are. And I feel like you've kind of gone away for a while. Like, you've had periods of your life where you were really isolated and on your own and just taking some time out to work on yourself. And then you come back so much stronger every single time. Because if you think of the Cheshire Cat, he's in and out, right? Like, he can disappear on a dime. And so he just comes in kind of with like this trickster energy a little bit, but he just comes in, says what he has to say, he says something cryptic, and then he's gone again. And so there's something there about you being involved in things and then pulling away your energy. And so, you know, you're there, but you're not there. And so I feel like you've had maybe friendships change over time, relationships with family members change over time. Maybe you've moved around a lot or you've changed jobs a lot. Or again, you've just had periods where people don't hear from you for a while. And then you come back and you're just so different. So this is someone, like, you've done a lot of inner work here. Like, you've done a lot of healing, a lot of shadow work. You've learned from these like fated events, these sudden endings in your life. Maybe for a lot of you, you've also had a physical glow up as well. But yeah, like, you've just changed and you've walked away from a lot of things that just weren't serving you. And yeah, I feel like people who maybe are just now meeting you wouldn't necessarily see how you have evolved into this energy. Because the Queen of Swords, she's not one to be messed with, like, at all. Like, she is not one to be trifled with. Like, you don't want to cross the Queen of Swords. You don't want to lie to her. You don't want to betray her. And this is just energy, by the way, divine feminine energy. Your gender doesn't matter. But yeah, with the Queen of Swords here, you don't want to try to pull a fast one on her. And you definitely don't want to start an argument with her. Like, she just knows who she is and she's very confident. Like, look at how determined she looks. And so this is someone who knows who they are, is comfortable with themselves, and they feel like they're smart enough and capable enough to do anything they want to do and to handle any type of social interaction. Like, this is just someone who's very confident and very assured. And with the Queen of Swords here, I mean, not the Queen of Swords, with the Queen of Wands here with the black cat, this represents an integration of her shadow. So it's the same energy of like fully knowing who you are and being very confident about it. I feel like you have this quiet confidence, and yet there's this fiery side to you that can come out when you need to. And you're also someone who is very aligned with their creative energy as well. So you're someone who feels like they can manifest what they want to manifest. You're someone who, you know, isn't afraid to be their authentic self and creatively express themselves. That's why I said some of you may have had a physical glow up as well, where you changed your style or your aesthetic, that kind of thing. Yeah, like there's just this confidence. And also with the Hermit card, you're not afraid to be an outsider. You're not afraid to be different. You're not afraid to be unique. And so there may be a way that you express yourself, whether it's the way you dress, the way that you speak, what you're interested in, your hobbies, that kind of thing. Maybe even what you do for work that is just very different than the average person. And you're okay with that. You're okay with being, you know, just someone who does their own thing. Like you're cool with that. And I feel like people are quite drawn to this energy. But I also feel like there's something there too with this Four of Cups, where because you've had to be kind of tough, you know, and you've had these sudden endings and you've had to grow up so much so fast, where people may try to come in and offer you friendship or offer you love or help or assistance or something, and you may be a bit closed off to it. Because there is this energy, again, of you pulling back your energy a lot and hiding yourself away. And yeah, I feel like there's an energy of you've gotten so used to being on your own and sitting in kind of the discomfort sometimes of loneliness, where you're just used to it. You're used to being on your own. So you may be a little bit closed off to connections with other people. You may be a little bit harder to reach. And it may also be that you have such strong boundaries that to other people it sometimes looks like you have walls up, you know, because there's something there with that Four of Cups. If you maybe you're not as emotionally open or vulnerable as you used to be. You know, you may have been burned in the past, whether that was, you know, past romantic partners, past friends, family members. I do feel like emotionally someone did a number on you in your past, and that's kind of affected the way you show up now. But you definitely seem very empowered, and you seem very confident and self-assured, and you seem like a force to be reckoned with. And that may be a little bit intimidating too. People may be a little bit afraid to approach you as a result of that as well. Okay. Like if you were a protagonist, you would kind of seem not to like flatter you too much, pile 3, but you may seem like the cool kid, you know, who just seems like a little bit, you know how there's, I'm trying to think of a good example of it. You know, kind of like Wednesday Addams, where she, like, so many people want to be like her, but she's so cold and different, you know? Like, so, like, if you ask someone who's your favorite Addams Family character, a lot of people would say Wednesday Addams, but she's not friendly. Like, she's not like, and not to say that you're unfriendly, but she's not out there sunshine and rainbows trying to be everyone's bestie, right? Like, she's just doing her own thing. And she can be, you know, a little bit cold and a little bit pulled back, right? She's like in her own energy. And so there could be an element of that with you where you're just like, I'm just trying to be in my own energy. I'm not trying to, you know, associate with all these different people. And so that may make you a little bit, because I don't think that you're shy. You're more reserved in some ways. Like with the Queen of Wands, she tends to be someone who is very like charming and charismatic and sociable. And I feel like you have that ability within you. I think you can be quite charming and quite charismatic, but it's like you don't, it's like that's behind the Queen of Swords though. And even this Queen of Wands doesn't look super friendly, does she? And so, and her heart here is black, right? So there's an element here of like, yeah, I used to be like super open, but now I have this Queen of Swords energy kind of protecting my heart. And it's because, I went through all of this difficult shadow work and healing. I'm not just going to let anybody come in and undermine all of the hard work that I've done. And so there's an element here, especially with the Hermit card as well, of protecting yourself. But when you do share this side of you, it's beautiful and people are so drawn to it. And I feel like people pick up that that's there, but it's like they know they kind of have to be put through the paces. Like they have to, like there's a little bit of like a test people almost have to pass to get to you. And I don't think that maybe it's intentional with you, but I feel like it's more of, people kind of have to step up. Because you're fully in this queen energy. Remember, like your gender doesn't matter, but it's almost like, you're like, this is my pedestal, this is my throne, and I'm not going to step out of my energy to come meet you somewhere. And so sometimes, yeah, maybe you do miss out on some cool people, but there's just this energy of you saying, like, I have to protect myself, And so I do think there is like a funnier, lighthearted, side to you that just wants to have fun, but there's that Queen of Swords energy cocooning it and saying like, we got to protect ourselves. Like first and foremost, we have to protect ourselves. So we have Scorpio energy here. And then we also have Avenger, desire to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. And then we also have Liberator, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns. Okay, I laughed when Scorpio came out because Scorpio is very private energy, but Scorpio is also a very empowered sign. And with Scorpios, that water energy brings this intuitiveness into your reading where I feel like you pick up on other people's energy quite well. And I think that's what I said before, like to other people it looks like you have walls up. I wouldn't necessarily say that because I feel like that does a disservice to your nature. It's more of that you're really good at intuitively sussing out who isn't right for you. And you may find that there are certain people just from the jump that you don't particularly care for. You don't have any evidence why you don't care for them. Like you just met them. You don't know why you don't like them, but you just don't. There's just something about their vibe that's not resonating with you. And so you keep your distance. You're not mean to that person. You're polite, you keep it civil, but you don't really pursue a friendship or go out of your way to engage with them. And so people look at you and they're like, why are you being so cold to them? You're like, I'm not being cold. I just, I'm keeping to myself over here. And sure enough, later on, you may find out some things about that person that confirms your intuition and why you thought that person just seemed a bit shady or, just not compatible with you or whatever. And so that then confirms your intuition, and then you're like, okay, yeah, I was right to hold back my energy. I was right, to keep my distance. And so, yeah, I feel like it's not walls exactly. It's just that you are hyper protective of your energy. And I feel like you're quite intuitive. And yeah, I think you're private. People may see you as secretive, but I think you're just private. And this seems to be a common theme within this entire reading. I feel like most of my viewers must be more private people because it seems to be coming up quite a lot. Also, I think it's quite interesting the Liberator card and the Avenger card go really well together. And Scorpios sometimes have a reputation of revenge. And I don't think it's revenge with you. I think it's reciprocity. Like, whatever people put out is what you give back. You know, like, you reciprocate that energy. You're like, it's not about revenge or getting even, but I'm gonna give you straight back what you're putting out. And so, you know, if you're over here thinking that you're gonna do me wrong, and I'm gonna continue to bend over backwards to treat you well, you've got another thing coming. You know, like, that's kind of how you are. You know, like, okay, like, if you want to get messy, you're the one who started it. So I just want you to be aware of the fact that, and again, like, I don't think that you step out of your energy or you do anything that would mess up, like, your karma or something like that. But I just feel like you know how some people say they're going to take the high road, but then that kind of ends up with them being like a doormat sometimes, where they say, well, I'm just going to be the bigger person, but that kind of ends up where they never stand up for themselves. You know, I feel like you're really good about standing up for yourself and advocating for other people too, in a way where you don't compromise your character, you don't compromise your morals. And I feel like you show other people how to do that. Like, there's a way to stand up for yourself without stepping down to someone else's level. And I feel like you show people how to do that. And, you know, I think also some of you may be on the younger side. And when I say younger side, I mean, you could be like in your 20s and have mastered lessons that some people don't get until their 40s. And you could be watching this and be in your 40s right now, and you have learned, and this is just a lesson that you learned when you were in your 20s. You see what I'm saying? Like, your current age doesn't really matter for what I'm saying, but you're like mature for your age. And I think there's something there about you showing other people, even people who are older than you, how to say no, how to hold boundaries, how to advocate for yourself and stand up for what's right without again, like, stepping out of your own energy or compromising your own moral compass. You know, like, you don't have to step down to someone else's level to stand up for yourself. Like, that's not necessary. And so I feel like you're really good at showing people how to do that. I remember having a conversation one time. It was with an old coworker, and she was asking me, like, what should I do? Someone kept texting her and wouldn't stop bugging her about coming over to her house to do something. And I told her, I said, well, why can't you just say no? I could not understand why she could not just tell this person, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Like, you can't come do this at my house. And she was saying, well, I tried to tell her X, Y, and Z, you know, these are the reasons why it wouldn't work out for me. It's not a convenient time for me to have people come over to my house. And she keeps saying, you know, the person was like kind of arguing with her back about it. And I told her, I said, sometimes when you're dealing with people who are very pushy, and, you know, in their head, they're not thinking about your needs or what's convenient for you or what's going to work well for you. They just have this goal, this objective in their mind. This is what they want. And so if you give them a reason, for example, no, I'm sorry, you can't come over this week. It's not a good time. I don't have enough time to clean my house to get ready for company because work is really slamming me this week. That pushy person is just going to counter back. And they're going to say, oh, we don't care if your house is messy. Okay. You don't care, but I do. And I just told you it's not, you know what I mean? So the more you give them reasons, the more they're just going to argue with you about those reasons, because ultimately all they care about is getting what they want. They don't care about what is good or convenient for you. They just care about what they want. You know, some people are just pushier and more selfish, right? So what do you do in that situation? You just say no. You don't need to justify the no. No is a complete sentence. No, I'm sorry, no. That's it, no. You don't even say I'm sorry, no. And like, she couldn't, like, she was like, what do you mean, just say no? I'm like, literally, just say no. You're not obligated to explain yourself to people. And if she wasn't so pushy with you, and if she was a more compassionate person, you could explain yourself, but clearly this person is pushy and selfish and isn't hearing you, so just say no. And then there's nothing to argue about. I've said no. You know, there's no excuse for you to counter back with. It's just a no. You know? And that's how you shut down the conversation with people like that. And so that was like a foreign concept to her, but that's something I personally had to learn in my own life. And so I feel like you're someone like that where, in terms of like especially social interactions and workplace settings and even family dynamics too, I feel like you're really good about showing people this is how you stand up for yourself. This is how you lay a boundary and maintain a boundary. This is how you do that without stepping out of your own power and not, you know, getting down and dirty, you know, with other people who are operating, you know, at like a lower vibrational level, so to speak. So, you know, it's not about revenge, it's about reciprocity. And yeah, I feel like you're someone who really, really cares about what is right. You know, like you're someone who really values, especially with that Queen of Swords energy, like you really value justice and a sense of honesty and a sense of fairness in a way that, you know, other people may be more willing to compromise their character, but you have like a very strong belief system and you adhere to that. And I think people also know you as someone who is true to their word. When you say something, you mean it and you stick to it. And I think that people have a lot of respect for that. And some people may not like you, but they respect you. And at the end of the day, I think you're someone who values that more. Like you care more about people respecting you than people liking you. And I think that you're more in your power because of that. You know, you don't change who you are or adapt to certain social settings to fit in or please other people. Like you really stay true to who you are and what feels right in your heart. In sometimes like a very like serious way. I know personally, like, this is a different family member, but I have someone in my family who is very adaptable in that way, and they will get around certain people and just agree with everything that they say. And I know that that's not, especially in terms of politics. And they'll just agree with whoever is speaking, they'll just agree with that person. And I'm like, I know that's not how you feel, really. I know that those aren't really your political beliefs. And you're not that kind of person. Like, if there's certain like social justice causes that you believe in, or some certain like political beliefs that you hold, or certain values that you hold, those stay consistent. It doesn't matter who you're talking to or where you're at. You believe what you believe. You don't force your beliefs on other people, but you don't change your beliefs to fit in with others. Like you believe what you believe, and you hold that consistently. And that's why you're someone, like I said, who is true to their word, and you're someone who has integrity, which is a big thing because not everyone has that. So I think that's definitely something to be proud of, actually. Okay. So now we have your final card here, and this is your last oracle card, but I am going to pause the reading and then go find a book in my little library, and that will best match your main character energy. But I love this card so much for you because you see all the butterflies that are stacked on her head here for her hair. Reminds me of that Scorpio Pluto energy where we were talking about with the Wheel of Fortune too. Like you've had a lot of sudden endings in your life. You've had to grow a lot. You've been through a glow up. Scorpio talks about transformation energy. And so I feel like you've had a lot of deaths and rebirths in terms of like your personal self-development and your healing journey and your spiritual journey. And so I feel like all these butterflies represent all of the cycles that you've been through in your life and how you've grown through all of these challenging, difficult times. And so, you know, the more cycles you go through, the more you just grow and grow and grow and learn and learn and learn. And I think that's why you are the main character energy. Like, you would be the person who liberates other people and fights for what is right, because you've had to grow through and learn through really difficult and challenging experiences and a lot of endings in your life, and you've had to be on your own and without maybe that support that others have. And so I feel like you can be a symbol of inspiration to other people who also feel quite isolated, or people who, you know, also are going through really challenging times, because I feel like there's a level of compassion with you that may surprise people. Like, certain people may view you as cold or guarded, but you've been through so much, and your capacity for compassion is so deep. Like, you're so compassionate, so understanding, but you don't get lost in the energy of other people. You know, like, if you resonate with like being an empath, you're not someone who gets lost in that. You don't get lost in the energies of other people, because you've learned how to you know, like, energetically protect yourself. But yeah, I feel like you're definitely someone who has grown through experience. If you were a main character in a story, it would be it would be a very long novel, and it would be one with a lot of twists and turns and plot twists. You know, like, your life has been quite surprising to you. And I feel like Spirit has repeatedly tested you over and over again, but it's because the potential for greatness within you is so strong. And you see how she's like confidently like carrying this torch here? Reminds me of, you know, the Hermit card here. Okay, so I'm not sure what happened, but the phone just cut out and stopped recording, and then there was some sort of error. So I believe I was talking about the Hermit card energy and this idea that you being able to recognize your own inner light and carry that forward with you serves as an inspiration to other people, and you help people connect with their inner light and show them that, you know, when people are in a really dark place searching for a light at the end of the tunnel, this idea, and I know I've talked about this on the channel before, but this idea that we are the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, and connecting with that inner strength and being a source of inspiration to other people, because your story can serve as a survival guide for others. Also, if you hear Gracie purring, she's sitting on my lap as I'm trying to edit. So, yeah, sorry about that. I've never had that happen before. I'm not sure what went on. But anyway, I'm going to pause the reading, and I'll go get your books now. Or I already did. I don't know. All right, pile 3. I couldn't choose between these two books, and both of them are written by the same author, and I'll go ahead and tell you, they're weird. Like, both of these books are like strange fever dreams. Like, they're just, the plots are crazy. But that's what kind of made me first like drawn to these two books for you, because we were talking about you having sort of this life story where there are a lot of twists and turns and sudden endings and things being just strange and quite different, and like you've had some really unique experiences in your life, or you've been put through some really challenging times. And so both of these characters go through very strange like circumstances, but both of them go on these journeys of self. Like, the main character in this one is really suffering from imposter syndrome and just feeling like, okay, I'm so sorry, but apparently the video cut out twice in your reading. What I was saying is that the main character is really suffering from imposter syndrome, and she doesn't really make that connection, I don't think, until the end of the novel. But this idea of how her environment was influencing her ability to be creative and to write and to succeed, in graduating from her program and doing well, and how she feels about herself as a writer, as an artist. And then in the other story, we have a protagonist who was a pretty successful actress up until she had this accident where, it ended up leaving her with this debilitating chronic pain. And it's kind of the same deal where people around her are very invalidating and they're not compassionate, or they're just kind of fed up with her. And I won't spoil it for you, but let's just say that energy of, I believe it was reciprocity that we were talking about in your reading. Maybe it was pile two, but I'm pretty sure it was your reading. This energy of reciprocity and people kind of getting a taste of, what that feels like. And I just feel like both of these books really represent that chaotic energy we were talking about that has been kind of a theme of your life with these unforeseen circumstances with the Wheel of Fortune card. And yeah, both of them are just like a strange fever dream, but they're really great books. Definitely recommend it. But both of these characters really come into their own by the end of their stories. And I feel like that's where you're at. You've really come into your own. So this was your reading pile 3. I'm so sorry. I've never had an issue with the phone just cutting out like that. I don't know if I'm out of storage or something, but thank you for your patience, and thank you for letting me do this reading for you all. I hope you all have a great day.